slight decrease in COVID-19 cases. MOTAC to review the rating system for hotels and F&B outlets. Stricter conditions for awarded projects. These are the headlines for tonight. I'm Handy Gui and you're watching TVS Nightline. Otherwise, their contracts might be terminated. Deputy Premier Dato' Amar Douglas UGGAH said this comes after stringent conditions were made in awarding contracts.
UGGAH, who is also Minister for Infrastructure and Port Development, said this aims to avoid contractors from partaking in projects which is beyond their performance capacity. Thus, he said that those who fail to start work within 1 month after getting the contract will face stern action, including the termination of awards. He said this during the Betong Division Development Committee meeting on January 9th. Meanwhile, UGGAH said there was also concern about the process of repetitive subcontracting, which can adversely affect the quality of the end product, or worse still, the projects being delayed and ending up as sick projects. As such, he stressed that when this happened, it would adversely affect the government's reputation in addition to disrupting the public's convenience. Hence, UGGAH pointed out that the government takes this matter seriously and will continue to perform monitoring activities. UGGAH also called on the respective government departments and agencies to engage all elected representatives to assist in implementation monitoring.
The Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture, MOTAC, is currently reviewing the rating system for hotels as well as food and beverage outlets in Malaysia as part of its effort to revamp the hospitality and tourism industry in the country. Its Minister, Dato' Sri Tiong King Sing, said it will not discount the possibility of downgrading premises found flouting basic standards of service quality and cleanliness.
The measure, Tiong said, is to develop a clearer and more reflective way to rate the quality of the premises, which he said are the cornerstones of the tourism industry. He added, guests often do not get the standard of quality they expect and have paid for, and it reflects poorly on the industry and indirectly on the country. Thus, he said the ministry aims to address complaints of low maintenance standards and improve its reputation for high quality and responsible standards of service and quality, noting that the tourism industry has generated more than 197.9 billion ringgit from the gross value added of the tourism industry, or 12.8% gross domestic product GDP contribution in 2021.
Sarawak has recorded a total of 270 COVID-19 cases during the first EPID week of this year, a slight decrease as compared to 330 cases during the 52 EPID week of last year. This brings the cumulative number of COVID-19 cases in the state to 323,871.
Sarawak Disaster Management Committee SDMC in its weekly COVID-19 update reported that of the total number of cases during the first EPID week, 260 cases were in categories 1 and 2, while 10 cases were in categories 3, 4 and 5. 2 COVID-19 related deaths were recorded in the same week, with 1 reported each in Sarike and Cebu. In the first EPID week, the committee said Kuching recorded the highest number of cases at 99, followed by Cebu 28, Miri 25, Bintulu 23, Dalat 13, Samarahan 11, Sarike 10, Serian 8 and Bau 7. 5 cases each were recorded in Muka, Pakan, Kapit and Siburan, while 3 cases each were recorded in Betong, Limbang and Selangau. Meanwhile, 2 cases each were reported in Lundu, Sri Aman and Kabong, plus 1 case each in Subis, Lubo Antu, Simunjan, Matu, Sabah, Tatau, Asajaya, Lawas, Tabadu, Kanawit and Song.
Now, Sarawak is a notable state, well known for its richness in diversity and cultural activities. As such, the Ministry of Youth and Sports, KBS, in joint efforts with the Sarawak government, will enhance the concept of unity in the development of sports on the federal level.
Citing Sarawak as an example, Minister of Youth and Sports, Hannah Yeoh, said the concept of unity should be cultivated in the youth and sports industry in Malaysia.
Perjumpaan ini adalah courtesy call di Sarawak untuk membincangkan kerjasama yang kita boleh lakukan untuk pembangunan sukan dan juga pembangunan belia. Dan Yang Amat Berhormat Premier Sarawak telah berkongsi idea dan pandangan beliau terutamanya on multiculturalism dari segi konsep perpaduan yang wujud di Sarawak sangat kuat dan bagaimana idea-idea ini boleh kita terapkan dalam usaha Kementerian Belia dan Sukan untuk membina sukan dan belia. Jadi konsep itu agak menarik, idea-idea beliau, dan kita akan bawa ini balik ke Putrajaya untuk bincang bersama dan tengok bagaimana kita boleh bekerjasama dengan lebih erat lagi.
Yeoh also shared that during the 1-hour meeting, Abang Johari expressed his openness to collaborate with the federal government to realise the vision. Commenting further, she also added that further discussion will be made regarding the matter with Sarawak Minister of Youth and Sports, Dato' Seri Abdul Karim Rahman Hamzah, in a courtesy call scheduled to be held in Putrajaya this coming January 16th. In the spirit of the Malaysian Agreement 1963, MA63, Yeoh said she will be committing her time to visiting Sabah and Sarawak once a month to look into aspects of youth and sports in both states.
For myself, I'm committing my time to making sure that every month there will be at least one visit to Sabah or Sarawak, which means then 2 months once I want to come here and see how we can work together. I think that's in the spirit of MA63. We want to make sure that we move together. Traditional sports definitely, and also you're very rich in your cultural activities here.
Meanwhile, Yeoh also expressed her interest in exploring the potential of aquatic sports in Sarawak at the grassroots levels.
I think definitely when we spoke to even the EXCO and the people in charge of sports in Sarawak, we want to look at the strength of Sarawak, and aquatic events and activities have always been a strength of Sarawak, and so kita nak belajar bagaimana aquatic ini begitu kuat di Sarawak dan apa yang membezakan Sarawak daripada negeri-negeri lain, apa yang anda lakukan di sini sejak kecil lagi untuk kanak-kanak, bagaimana mereka membangun.
Premier of Sarawak, Datuk Patinggi Tan Sri Abang Johari Tun OPEC today received a courtesy visit from Rumpun Silat Sarawak RSS. Its Deputy President, Datuk Muhammad Yusnar Matali, said the visit is aimed at briefing Abang Johari on the organising of the Sarawak Premier International Silat Championships.
According to Yusnar, this is the first prestigious silat competition to be held in collaboration between RSS and the Sarawak government. So far, 11 countries have signed up to enter.
Sehingga semalam kita baru dapat 11 penyertaan, dan penyertaan ini akan tutup pada 16 Januari. Saya baca beberapa negara yang dah menyatakan kesediaan untuk menghantar tim: Malaysia, Indonesia, Brunei, Singapura, Filipina, Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan, India, South Africa, Thailand dan Vietnam. Dan negeri-negeri dalam Malaysia, Sarawak sendiri, tuan rumah, ada 2 tim, Terengganu, PDRM, Pahang, Melaka dan negeri Sabah.
A total of 800 silat exponents from 16 countries will compete in the 2023 Sarawak Premier International Silat Championships, which will take place at the Kuching Indoor Stadium from February 27th to March 5th. The tournament will be a benchmark and a pioneer for RSS to organize a series of silat tournaments in the future. Yusnar added that RSS was committed to ensure that the tournament was a success. The 2023 Sarawak Premier International Silat Championship offers a cash prize of $20,000 or 87,510 ringgit for the overall champion, and for the first time a championship belt is introduced for the overall champion.
Sarawak Teachers Union STU welcomes the return of education autonomy to Sarawak to fulfill its demands as enshrined under the Malaysia Agreement 1963. Its president, Kulin Jayang, said the move will also help reduce the bureaucracy in education and address issues in education effectively.
Pemberian kuasa autonomi pendidikan kepada Kerajaan Negeri Sarawak adalah sesuatu yang baik dan perlu diambil peluang oleh Kerajaan Negeri untuk memenuhi tuntutan dalam MA 63. Namun, ia bukanlah perkara kecil kerana ia perlu diteliti terlebih dahulu tahap kesediaan semua pihak dan bukannya diambil secara terburu-buru. Sepintas lalu, pemberian kuasa autonomi ini boleh mengurangkan birokrasi yang berkaitan dengan isu pendidikan guru, khasnya guru-guru di negeri Sarawak. Malah kerajaan negeri juga boleh mengambil tindakan dengan lebih drastik bagi menangani isu seperti kemudahan infrastruktur, sekolah daif, capaian internet dan masalah kekurangan guru yang agak kritikal di negeri Sarawak.
However, he said a few things should be considered before receiving full autonomy in education, especially in Sarawak.
Adakah Sarawak diberi ordinan dan enakmen pendidikan sendiri untuk menggubal kurikulum? Yang kedua, pensijilan adakah masih sama menggunakan SPM atau mana-mana pensijilan lain yang boleh diiktiraf oleh negara ataupun antarabangsa? Dan juga adakah masih guru-guru yang berasal dari Sarawak, guru-guru yang bertugas di Sarawak masih lagi bergelar penjawat awam persekutuan ataupun diambil alih oleh kerajaan negeri? Semua perkara inilah yang harus kita ambil berat, yang harus kita beri tumpuan sebelum kita menerima kuasa autonomi penuh dalam bidang pendidikan di Sarawak.
Therefore, he hopes that certain parties will join hands for an effective Sarawak education system to build appropriate education policy in Sarawak.
STU sentiasa berharap pihak-pihak yang tertentu seperti MEITD dan JPN Sarawak serta pakar-pakar pendidikan yang ada di Sarawak harus bekerjasama dalam persediaan menerima kuasa autonomi pendidikan yang diberikan oleh kerajaan pusat. STU akan sentiasa bersedia untuk bekerjasama dan menyumbang idea dalam perkara ini jika diperlukan.
Previously, Deputy Prime Minister Datuk Seri Fadilah Yusof said the federal government has in principle agreed to return autonomy in education and health to Sarawak as part of the move to further strengthen Sarawak's rights as enshrined in the Malaysia Agreement 1963.
Now, the reintroduction of Goods and Services Tax GST should be seen as one of the means to increase the national income. Economic analyst Dr. Madeline Burma believe that should the GST be re-implemented, it should be reintroduced at a lower rate. She added that the government should educate the public on the benefits of the tax, as many Malaysians currently have a negative perception on the matter.
Malaysians really are very allergic to taxes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's a bit different from how foreign countries they view taxes differently. For us here, the moment you mention taxes, the people always cringe at the idea that the taxes. I think it's basically due to the fact that it is not properly explained, and more importantly, people are not really aware of how the money from the taxes are being allocated. I think if the government needs to raise or reintroduce GST or any other form of taxes, I think there needs to be a kind of the government really needs to educate Malaysians.
According to Madeline, from an economic point of view, GST is comparatively better than the current Sales and Services Tax, SST. However, she noted that the 6% rate introduced in 2015 is too high for the public.
If you ask an economist, GST is actually the best form of taxation because it is really it's far better than what or the existing SST.
Mm-hmm.
You see, but the problem is that because it was when it was implemented, when was that? I can't remember what was it. So it was implemented. The percentage was relatively high. That so Malaysians were really shocked by it. So, but it is one of the lowest. Of all the GST, I think Malaysia's was the lowest.
On Thursday, the Federation of Malaysian Manufacturers FMM urged the government to reintroduce the GST in the revised tabling of Budget 2023.
Still with the ongoing political crisis in Sabah, Prime Minister Dato Sri Anwar Ibrahim is expected to fly into Sabah later tonight to meet with representatives of Sabah political parties on the issue. Joining us this evening is our reporter Amirul Mukminin from Sabah. Amirul, could you fill us in on the political situation in Sabah right now?
Thank you, Hendy. Today we live cross from Srigaya in Kota Kinabalu, Sabah, where we are waiting for the Prime Minister Dato Sri Anwar Ibrahim to arrive and to meet the Chief Minister Sabah Dato Sri Haji Juno. Now allow to speak in Malay, please. Kami sekarang menunggu ketibaan Yang Berhormat Perdana Menteri Malaysia Dato Sri Anwar Ibrahim. Di belakang saya ini adalah tempat kediaman Ketua Menteri. Sebenarnya ramai-ramai pengambil media masih lagi menunggu kehadiran Yang Berhormat Perdana Menteri. Ini adalah tempat terakhir selepas perjumpaan Perdana Menteri bersama ketua-ketua parti di Sabah, termasuk UMNO, Barisan Nasional, Pakatan Harapan dan juga Gabungan Rakyat Sabah. Baru saja sebentar tadi Datuk Seri Haji Dinor tiba di pekarangan rumah ini bagi menyambut Yang Amat Berhormat Perdana Menteri Malaysia. Kami masih merungkai apakah yang akan dikatakan oleh Perdana Menteri selepas ini. Adakah kebelut politik ini berakhir dengan sepenuhnya? Adakah episod ini akan bersambung pada hari esok? Saya pun tidak pasti. Tapi kita nantikan perkembangan dari semasa ke semasa selagi anda menonton TVS di rumah. Dan sentiasa and always been good morning, good evening and good night. Thank you.
Thank you, Amirul, for the insights. Now, coming up right after the break, Malaysia to strengthen bilateral relations with Indonesia. Special committee to look into all citizenship matters. Right here on TVS Nightline, stay tuned. Thank you for staying with us. Now, Prime Minister Dato Sri Anwar Ibrahim concurs with Indonesian President Joko Widodo to strengthen bilateral relations between Malaysia and Indonesia. Both leaders are also determined to resolve a few ongoing issues, such as the recruitment and protection of migrant workers from Indonesia, border issues, and potential. investment in the capital city of Nusantara.
In a joint statement held after Anwar's official visit to Bogor Palace this morning, Anwar and Jokowi agreed to settle unfinished discussions and sign memorandums by the end of this year. Anwar gave his commitment to prioritize Indonesian migrant workers' rights as well as ease their entry into Malaysia.
Kita insya-Allah akan menghindari isu-isu yang boleh merenggangkan dan meretakkan hubungan kerana saya mahu hubungan Malaysia-Indonesia itu agak kategorinya special. Jadi soal TKI ini yang mengguris perasaan ramai rakyat Indonesia, bukan saja pemerintah. Dan saya tahu benar kerana saya berpengalaman di penjara yang sama, mendengar pada ketika itu kesan cambukan ke atas mereka, dan saya tidak fikir ini satu yang manusiawi. Dan Alhamdulillah untuk tahun ini, tahun lalu 2022, soal cambuk itu sudah dihentikan. Tetapi itu bukan penyelesaian. Penyelesaiannya harus lebih menyeluruh supaya nasib pekerja di peringkat bawahan itu dapat dibela, dan saya dapat pengakuan kami berdua untuk memastikan kerja-kerja agensi pekerja ini harus hanya sekadar facilitate dan permudahkan dan tidak hanya mengambil keuntungan berlebihan untuk menekan pekerja di peringkat bawahan. Dan oleh demikian soal digitalization unit ini sangat penting kerana ia dengan sendirinya akan mengurangkan karenah birokrasi dan keperluan menggunakan terlalu ramai agen.
Touching on border issues, Anwar said many discussions and meetings have taken place, but many issues remain unresolved and Malaysia hopes they can be decided through mutual agreement.
Hal-hal lain berbatasan dan sebagainya tentunya kita akan teliti dan laksanakan. Saya dari taklimat yang saya perolehi, Bapak, tidak terlalu banyak kerumitannya, ya. Tetapi ia hanya memerlukan satu tekad yang jelas, dan insya-Allah dalam masa terdekat saya akan bawa ke Jemaah Menteri.
Prime Minister Dato Sri Anwar Ibrahim is on the second day of a two-day official visit to Indonesia. Anwar was accompanied by Foreign Minister Dato Sri Dr. Zamri Abdul Kadir and International Trade and Industry Minister Tengku Dato Sri Zafrul Abdul Aziz, among others.
Meanwhile, Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim at the same event said Malaysia will seek the best way to ensure the development of Indonesia's new capital Nusantara in Kalimantan that would benefit the regional economies of Sabah and Sarawak. Anwar said the Sabah and Sarawak administrations praised the initiative by Jokowi in developing Nusantara.
Dan saya beritahu tadi itu inisiatif besar Bapak Presiden itu mempersilitkan saya kerana dibanding dengan apa yang saya mampu lakukan untuk Sabah dan Sarawak. Jadi oleh itu kita ambil pendekatan yang positif, itu mencari jalan supaya pertumbuhan ibu kota negara Nusantara itu akan juga memberi manfaat kepada wilayah yang termasuk Sarawak dan Sabah.
He said this at a joint press conference with Indonesian President Joko Widodo on Monday. Before the press conference, the two leaders had witnessed the handing over of 11 letters of intent, LOI, from 10 Malaysian companies to participate in the development of Nusantara.
The government has set up a special committee to look into all citizenship matters in the country. This includes the process to amend the federal constitution to allow Malaysian women the right to grant citizenship to their children, including those who were born overseas to foreign fathers.
Home Affairs Minister Dato Seri Saifuddin Nasution Ismail said the committee will also look into all relevant legal aspects surrounding citizenship matters. Commenting further, he said that his ministry has begun preparing a cabinet paper with regard to this matter.
Di Kementerian Dalam Negeri sekarang memang sudah pun tertubuh sebuah jawatan kuasa khusus untuk perkara yang disebutkan tadi. Ya, tajuk kewarganegaraan, jawatan kuasa meneliti semua aspek perundangan yang berkaitan. Ya. Dan sudah tentu fungsi Menteri Azalina juga sebagai Menteri Undang-Undang perlu kami libat urusanlah. Ya, akhir sekali hasrat kami adalah untuk mengangkat satu kertas jemaah menteri bagi dimuktamadkan di peringkat kabinet.
Saifuddin said this at a press conference at the National Registration Department, NRD, after handing over approval letters for citizenship applications.
The standard operating procedures SOP to enter the country will remain the same for the time being. Minister of Home Affairs Dato Sri Saifuddin Nasution Ismail said any changes to the SOP will be made only based on the latest COVID-19 data. Saifuddin explained that SOP undergone by travellers from China is the same as travellers from other countries.
Tentulah tidak bijaksana untuk kita selektif. Saya fikir tak tepat untuk negara mengambil penderan begitu.
He said this to reporters after monitoring the daily operations at KLIA International Airport today. However, Saifuddin noted that the government will not compromise with the public's safety from any threats, including the COVID-19 pandemic. Previously, Prime Minister Dato Sri Anwar Ibrahim said Malaysia does not discriminate against any country while conducting COVID-19 inspections against tourists, but only aims to prioritize people's health. Saifuddin also assured that the Immigration Department will tighten its surveillance of the entry of foreigners. He further commented that tourists with symptoms will be taken to a doctor on duty for checkup.
Saya tengok sendiri catatan rekod termasuk kapal terbang yang membawa pelawat dari China, suhu 37, 35. Saya tanya sendiri prosedur kalau ada dikesan demam ke mana, diletakkan satu poin khusus, doktor akan buat semakan lagi. Kalau masih lagi kekal dengan rekod tanda-tanda yang mengancam, istilahnya positif, pilihannya terus dibawa ke Sungai Buloh.
In regards to the inspection at the immigration counter at KLIA, he was satisfied on the whole, as most tourists complied with the existing SOP. Travellers are beginning to come in packs into mainland China as Beijing opened borders that have been shut since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic. After 3 whole years, China is now fully open to the world, and they have ended requirements for travellers to be in quarantine.
At Beijing International Airport, families and friends exchanged emotional hugs and greetings at meetings that would have been impossible due to a now cancelled policy.
Our daughter's coming in today because there's no quarantine. So we're just thrilled that China has done away with the quarantine policy. And that's why she chose this flight for today, because it's the first day when people can just come right off the airplane and go home.
Most of the travellers are thrilled with the smoothness of the entry procedure after nearly 3 years.
非常开心，非常开心，真的一路很顺利就过来了，就经历过就是隔离21天，也经历过14天，这次是第一次回来，所以非常开心。
When I left China at the beginning of December, I was anticipating coming back, being flown to Shenyang instead of Beijing, and spending 8 days on my own in a hotel room and having to go through all the tests and all the protocols and everything else that was involved. So it's a huge relief just to be able to back to normal, just arrive at an airport. Well, as I say, normal. Meeting all these journalists isn't normal, but you know, just come back to China, get off the plane, go and get myself a taxi and go home.
Many Chinese citizens are also expected to start travelling abroad. A long-awaited shift for tourist destinations in countries such as Thailand and Indonesia, though several governments worried about China's COVID spike are imposing curbs on travellers from the country.
That's all the time we have for TVS Nightline. I'm Handy Gui. Thank you for watching.